back reading chapter 2, kindergarten, part B. Pop in some earphones, relax, and listen. It wasn't until I stopped the power struggle of wanting my husband to fall in line with my dreams that I was actually able to successfully pursue and have my dreams fulfilled. Working in the school system, I became aware of the ever-present and persistent politics that play into the way our children are taught and advanced through school. Like the divided political views of our country today, do not allow the politics of your household to divide your marriage. You can exist together in harmony and fulfillment if you understand the blueprints to the political landscape of a home written by and gifted to us by the inventor of marriage, our Lord and Savior. What is he saving us from? The educational system of God saves us from ignorance and the unfortunate circumstances of not knowing how to operate in our marriages. When the 10 Commandments were removed from schools as a guideline for how students should view relationship with God, themselves, and others, the governing document, the Constitution of Heaven, was also removed from the conscience of the school system. The good Lord has given us the power to save ourselves from dysfunction by giving us his political agenda, the politics that should govern the structure of how we relate to ourselves, our mates, our children, our acquaintances, our family, and the world. Some people should be kept close, some at a distance, and others entirely disconnected from your life. Knowing the difference will allow you to gain momentum toward a functional, peaceful, and purposeful existence. And understanding that the commandments of God are vital in schooling ourselves and our children for better lives and marriages is tantamount. Before you allow the comparison of God and politics to offend you, consider the position that Jesus held as he walked this earth and the position he ever reigns within, the position of king. A king is not a religious title, but rather a government office, a political title and structure governing a society of citizens called a kingdom. Although God's instructions for governing our lives was removed from schools, we do not have to sit back and allow that dismissal of truth and guidance to permeate the way we run our households. Using government as an example, if you can establish in your first year of marriage that there is one king, a queen, and a single person or group of citizens called your children, the flow in your home will be more peaceful and purpose-filled than that of your neighbor's home being thrashed in anarchy, tormented by little rebels without a cause. If your teens and toddlers are running your home, there is a change that needs to be made. Children are often the reason for separation and divorce. But are the children really where the problems lie? Parents who can't agree on discipline and the order of the home only create confused children who, out of spite and retaliation to an unordered home, will use manipulation and disrespect to drive an even deeper wedge in an unstable marriage. The issue is never with the children themselves, but with the parents and what they allow. In any society, citizens become unruly without rules and consequences for breaking those rules. If a person simply speaks with contempt or disrespect to law enforcement, they can be placed in jail. Your home has to be a tiny reflection of the government model you most want to reflect. In a godly home, that government style is a kingdom, not a democracy. In a kingdom, the citizens do not get to vote for and create the rules and guidelines for the kingdom. They are raised to respect the kingdom and its governing laws and understand the consequences of breaking such laws. Consistency from the king and queen creates trust and a respectful fear in the citizens/children. When tired and stressed parents allow themselves to react to their children emotionally, it creates less trust and respect. A king or queen crying from the throne, shouting and throwing things out of frustration will be hard-pressed to attain the respect of the citizens and the position they hold. The citizens will not revere their leaders, and thus the leaders will have an added obstacle of maintaining peace and order. If you run your home as a democracy and not as a monarchy, you will struggle through the same challenges you observe our democratic government and its citizens endure. Your toddlers and teenagers will constantly be voting to impeach you from your position in one way or another, not following your rules, not trusting your instruction, not honoring and respecting the leadership that wants to keep them safe and see them grow and thrive. When we were at the kinder age, we heard phrases like, "because I said so," and "do what I say, not what I do," from our parents. Unfortunately, life does not and has never worked out that simply. If it did, the violent, drug-addicted, and self-loathing of society would be practically non-existent, because everything we walk out in our lives, positive and negative, is a result of things passed to us through our observations, our DNA, and our choices. Not because our parents said, "do this and don't do that." Following an inconsistent parent who lived one lifestyle and preached another, expecting their child to follow their advice, which did not align with the example they provided, is a dysfunctional model. Yet, this is the reality many of us have endured. God's laws of the universe don't allow us as parents to do anything we want and not have our children affected by our decisions, and more importantly, affect the way our children make their own decisions. This is why the "do as I say and not as I do" attitude is one of complete ignorance and unawareness of reality that has never worked out. The actual results that occur when a parent acts something out and expects their child to model a different behavior than them are never good. Working in a kindergarten classroom, I came to the actualization that the little ones are each individually a reflection of the function or dysfunction taking place in their home, which was always evident when meeting the parents. The dynamic component to this understanding is that most people agree that the example they provide is affecting their children. What all of us struggle with is the actualization of what you think internally and do away from the sight and hearing of your children has just as much effect on them as what they hear and see from you in person. I have had too many parents tell me that because they are grown adults, they can do whatever they want to do on their own time while their children are asleep in their beds or off with the babysitter. I am grown. No, you're not. Anyway, our children are amplifiers of our innermost thoughts and secrets. Because of this invisible connection, a parent can do... Let me go back. Our children are amplifiers of our innermost thoughts and secrets. Our children are amplifiers of our innermost thoughts and secrets. Because of this invisible connection, a parent can do everything right in the sight of their children, yet be in total rebellion, unforgiveness, bitterness toward their parent or spouse in secret, and the children will be rebellious. The imbalance, instability, and emotional ups and downs we see in our children is a direct reflection of the imbalance, instability, and rebellion within us as parents. A wife that is always at odds with her husband, arguing, disagreeing, and making choices in opposition to what the husband has communicated is operating in dysfunction, regardless if he is the biological father of the children or not. The children will be rebellious because the mother, the queen, is not in compliance with the king. Children do not respect authority when the authoritative rule within their own home is out of whack. Pay close attention to your children. Allow what you observe in them to be a teacher to you and direct you in the areas of your life and thought processes that need changing, and you will undoubtedly see improvements. It's experiencing difficulties in your marriage is an opportunity to pay attention to the misbehaviors in your children and reflect on the attitudes and actions in them that may point to the internal struggles that you as a parent need to work on. Our attitudes and energy have every ounce of cause and effect in the behaviors of our children. Children are amplifiers of what issues we need to deal with in ourselves as individuals and as a partner in our marriage. How you relate to and address concerns with your spouse will be made loud and clear through the attitude and actions of your child. A child struggling with a rebellious attitude is most likely reflecting rebellion of the mother or father. The rebellion can be as simple as mom working against dad as opposed to working with him and supporting his position. Regardless of a husband's pitfalls and shortcomings, a supportive and optimistic wife not trying to prove her husband wrong or teach him a lesson will more likely see happier and easier to parent kiddos. A child with behavior issues can be the product of an abusive relationship. Many abusive relationships are emotionally and verbally abusive. This will create problems in your children. These remarks may appear as obvious statements, but I continue to encounter couples who are oblivious to the fact that the behavioral issues in their children are a direct reflection of the behavioral issues within them. Our children are amplifiers regardless of the parent's marital status. A single parent is just as likely to have an emotional unstable child as a reflection of the emotional ups and downs of the parent they observe and interact with on a regular basis. Or the same child can be mild-mannered and well-behaved because they interact with a calm and organized parent on a regular basis. Therefore, calmness is normal for this child. If you are dealing with disruptive, disrespectful, and disorderly children, ask yourself how much dishonor they observe in and may be reflecting of you. Regardless of having a relationship with a parent or not, we all carry DNA that lends its idiosyncrasies to our personalities and dispositions. How many of us have heard we are just like a parent that we hardly knew or possibly never even met? Whether we are being compared for a good trait or bad, it is our choice to rise above the standards set by our parents and grandparents. Bloodline is a strong factor in influencing our conduct, but never an acceptable excuse for continuing to walk in ignorance or to be captivated by continuing sabotaging behaviors. No matter what kind of parents you have, find ways to be respectful and honoring. This does not mean you have to expose yourself to a damaging or energy-draining person, nor continue to allow yourself or your children to be wounded by their foolishness. If your parent is manipulative, unsafe to be around, and a completely unwise association for you and your children, make sure you work on not carrying anger and bitterness as a result, or you too will struggle in the relationship you have with your own children. The last thing we want to do is to emulate the weak points of the parenting we were raised under. But what many of us don't realize is that when we choose not to forgive our parents, we carry their spirit around with us. And our children end up feeling the same negative feelings about us that we felt about our parents because we chose to dwell on our anger and disapproval of our parents' shortcomings. Unforgiveness hurts us and minimizes the quality of our own lives. Bitterness does not affect the person whom you are angry with or hurt by. Holding on to anger and bitterness actually affects our health and can even weaken our bones. A merry heart does good like medicine, but a broken spirit dries the bones. Proverbs 17:22. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. It will be health to your flesh and strength to your bones. Proverbs 3, verses 7 through 8. Kindergartners are so cute, so innocent, so excited about learning, so small yet huge on energy reserves that never seem to dwindle. Do you recall your first day of kindergarten? Too long ago to remember? Well, you probably remember your child's first day. An elementary school on the first day is full of kindergartners with lunch pails and sack lunches. On the contrary, a middle school or high school lunch count will rarely show many homemade lunches. Why is that? Is it because new parents of the little ones are in their honeymoon stage of parenting and want to make sure lunch is at its best with all the fixings, snacks, and an extra juice box just in case? The first year of marriage should be just like kindergarten in that both the husband and wife are innocent and open with an expectation of learning, and becoming lasting friends with no fear or bitterness from the soul connections of past relationships. Regardless of the mistakes of your past, you are deemed innocent if you sit your baggage down and leave it behind. He has not dealt with us according to our sins, mistakes, nor punished us according to our iniquities. For as the heavens are high above the earth, so great is his mercy toward those who fear, respect him. As far as the east is from the west, so far has he removed our transgressions from us. Psalms 103, verses 10 through 12. You do not have to carry guilt, shame, or even memories of past relationships that can hurt your connection, haunt your thoughts, and affect your intimacy with your spouse. Despite the fact that we are imperfect humans, we should cleanse ourselves emotionally from past relationships that can be carried into the new one and affect our ability to learn and become a better mate to the person we have committed to. You cannot have an intimate relationship with Yeshua through remorseful and regretful thoughts. And likewise, you cannot have an intimate relationship with your spouse with shame in your heart. We must realize that we can be deemed innocent of past relationships and their failures and move forward unmarked and unscathed, going into your marriage innocent, pure, and excited to learn and grow together, just as a 6-year-old starting school for the first time. The greatest in the kingdom. About the time the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" Jesus called the little child to him and put the child among them. Then he said, "I tell you the truth, unless you turn from your sins and become like little children, you will never get into the kingdom of heaven." So anyone who becomes as humble as this little child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And anyone who welcomes a little child like this on my behalf is welcoming me. But if you cause one of these little ones who trust in me to fall into sin, it would be better for you to have a large millstone tied around your neck and be drowned in the depths of the sea. Matthew 18, verses 1 through 6. Kindergarten children who have been exposed to disappointments in their life beyond their scope of understanding or emotional strength miss out on the value of the lessons to be learned in this first year of school, as they are too emotionally scarred to have the wherewithal to focus in class. Short attention spans and emotional instability weigh these children down with baggage of pain and a resulting dysfunction. Likened unto a first-year married couple who have either been married before or engaged in various intimate connections with past relationships, kindergartners in divorced homes, foster care, or wards of the state of some kind are less likely to receive the full benefit of their first year in school, nor enjoy the experience as much as a child from a less broken home. The kindergarten year of marriage can either be a year of fun discovery and learning, or it can be a precursor to a rough and draining educational experience as a result of short attention spans and emotional immaturity. Along with the excitement and freshness of kindergarten, it includes its share of frustrations as we learn how to socialize, relate to others, spell our first and last names, count, add, and clean up our messes. I know you see where I'm going with this. The best teachers make those otherwise discouraging tasks fun and enjoyable. Comparably, a mature mate will have a fun and lighthearted spirit through the challenges of learning how to be great at marriage, from the first year of courtship all the way through the advanced stages of college. By the end of kindergarten, we hopefully have established how to spell and write our first and last name. This brings me to how to spell and write our first and last name. To an important point about the power of a name. That's what this brings me to. I read the same line twice. Wives need to take on the last name of their husbands. Ooh, she said that. No, she didn't. Yes, I did. Why'd she say that? What's in a name? If it were not such a frequent situation that I encounter, the topic would not deserve a place in this guide. Please know that when you struggle to change your last name, it is a struggle that reveals a stronghold that needs to be broken in order for peace and partnership to prevail in your union. A marriage that is not unified is in trouble. Just like a business partnership, if the partners can't agree on a name for their company and choose to maintain the identity of their previous business by keeping the old name, not only is a seed of a division planted within the company, but the customers and clients will be less confident in a business that can't make up its mind on what it wants to be called. As wives, we take on the identity of our husbands, not to leave behind our own strength and gifts, but to merge with him and be the support and backbone that balances and adds to the positive traits he already possesses. Pulling in a separate direction divides the home, and the basic kindergarten lesson of knowing how to write your name is another stone laid to support a solid, undivided marital structure. A good teacher. The question is not, are you a teacher? But rather, what kind of teacher are you? We are all teaching and showing something to someone else. Someone else is always watching and being affected by your choices or lack of choices being made. I am both the student of and teacher to my spouse. People who have little patience to spare, short attention spans, selfish pursuits, and emotional baggage are horrible teachers. You may recall a great teacher in your early years of schooling that made you feel like you could get all the way through all 12 years of school and maybe even go on to college. Or like me, you hit that old bitter teacher in second grade who is angry and waiting to retire, who makes you wish you could drop out of school right away and find something to do with your life exclusive of formal education. So many people, more than 50% of Americans, hit that mean teacher stage of marriage and they drop out. Don't be a dropout. Become a better student and watch your teacher become a more fun person to learn from and be around. We will discuss how to achieve this in the progression of the chapters. So many decide they will continue to have intimate marriage-like relationships without actually being married. Many refer to this relationship status as playing house or common law marriage or I'm grown. Why play when you can have the real thing? And why be commoners when you can live royally? People get discouraged as teachers and students of love and life, and they create their own way to sustain. The problem is, our own way isn't the best way. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. Isaiah 55, verse 8. Nap time and time out. It is undeniable that all relationships are tested and can get to climactic points of intense emotion. Whether a person is passive-aggressive, or just aggressive, either attribute can be very detrimental to solving problems in a safe, effective, and logical way. We have all heard the saying, "Don't go to bed angry." Well, nap time and letting the sun set on your bitterness and unresolved disputes are two different things. In kindergarten, we are high on energy, but also high-tempered and short on attention span. This is a combination for disaster in those students who haven't learned effective communication skills and self-control at home. Kindergarten classrooms specifically have a nap time appointed to mitigate the complications of controlling many little bundles of unstable energy. Napping rejuvenates, refreshes, and resets the mind to be prepared to focus on more growth and learning. What are some ways you can take a nap in high-intensity times in your marriage? Cliché as it seems, counting slowly from 1 to 10 and focusing on breathing techniques allows you to regain control in moments where your emotions are getting the best of you. Just like a kinder teacher will have a call and response for specific code words with her students to get their attention and focus in times of chaos, we also, as adult married people, can establish a guardrail communication system with each other so that in times of confusion and intense emotion, we can gain control of ourselves and allow each other to remind one another to stay calm or take a nap. Understandably, using the exact words "take a nap" could either incite laughter or build anger, all depending on the personalities and maturity level of the people in the relationship. Timeout is a great tool used in school for teachers, school counselors, psychologists, and restorative justice professionals. Having a system in place to pull a child from the current classroom environment and bring them into another environment, such as a private office or an empty playground, is a first step in de-escalation, assessment, and evaluation. Taking a time out from each other is many times the best solution to allow time and change of environment to bring rational and logical solutions and compromises. In every marriage, I have encountered opposites definitely coming together to form a perfect balance. The problem lies not in being opposites, but in being opposed to each other. If you are the one who needs to take a time out, do so quite quietly, peacefully, and with respect. If you feel your spouse needs a timeout, telling them so is likely to incite more anger and escalation. Therefore, you must take it for them. Respectfully communicate you need time to think and calm down, and quietly remove yourself. Pointing the blame at yourself for the escalation and flaring temperament allows your spouse to also look inward and do a self-check. Telling your spouse they need to calm down, on the other hand, is rarely a successful maneuver. Telling your spouse they need to calm down is rarely a successful strategy, especially if you're not calm when you say it. Sharing is caring. In this stage of elementary school, we learn important values like sharing, selflessness, teamwork, and care and concern for our peers. If in this stage we struggle to realize that sharing is better than selfishness and caring for others is more rewarding than being the center of our own worlds, we move on into the next grades with one less challenge. one less web strung to the last grade attached to our Spider-Man backpack, pulling us back and holding us in place rather than propelling us forward. In many of our arguments, we are making the mistake of trying to be understood rather than truly putting in an effort to validate the other person's concerns and frustrations first. Once one person feels validation and support, it becomes less of a task at being validated and having them understand your position as well. Notice I did not mention validating feelings. Not because feelings are not real, but because in today's society, we have given precedence to feelings and emotions over logic and facts. Because in today's society, we have given precedence to feelings and emotions over logic and facts. When a person allows how they feel to rule over them, they are moving further away from success and accomplished relationships. A marriage is obviously a relationship, whether good or bad. A career is a relationship. A goal and your persistence or lack thereof to attain it is a relationship. Parenting is a relationship. Politics are a relationship, and the list goes on. Relationships rule the world, be they positive or negative. The point is, people who are controlled by their emotions are undoubtedly immature and unhappy people. A person is in alignment to receive wisdom and forward propulsion when they realize that emotions are often liars and cannot be in control of us and the decisions we make. Keep in mind, the opposite of being emotional is not being emotionless, but disciplined. You are either emotional or disciplined, but the two rarely function in accordance. After reading this last statement, if your state of mind is, well, do you cry in sad times? Laugh at jokes? Ever get angry or frustrated? Yes. Remember, the goal is not to be cold and emotionless. It is to realize when it is truly necessary to spend your emotions. And don't make decisions based on how you feel. Look at emotions as if they are $100 bills. And you want to save up your money so that you have it to spend when you really need or want something. Be in control of your money, and it will not control you. Rationale and logic are your friends. Frivolously spent emotions are your enemy and will bankrupt your soul. You are either emotional and disciplined. You are either emotional or disciplined and logical, but the three can't function in harmony. Emotional kindergartners act as little terrorizers to their teachers and the entire school. Don't allow the little terrorizer and torturer within you to come out and affect your success. By the end of kindergarten, a student has hopefully learned to share, play nice by having concern for others, control emotions, and trust their teacher and certain individuals in the school. What parents are extremely proud of, when the young student has learned to write their name. It is important for a wife to take on the name of her husband. Every person I have interviewed about a choice to hyphenate or keep a maiden name, it had to do with a fear or lack of total willingness to surrender, adapt, and commit to the relationship. Keeping a previous name is a defensive maneuver. There is a lot of value in a name, and it is the start of the basics to creating a strong marital foundation. A desire to hold on to the person you were before you were married is a desire that needs transformation and should not be solidified by a legal transaction of recording your name as a hyphenated identity linking you to your past. By the end of kindergarten year, we hope to have instilled a sense of value in the individual while simultaneously depositing a spirit of giving, sharing, trust, and care. Your first year or two of marriage can end with a sense of accomplishment in that you both have learned basic values to build your life upon. Trust. Trust each other and the people who have proven to be a step or two ahead of your progress in life and are willing to coach you. When trust issues are present, it is very hard to grow because growth and climbing the ladder of life requires a connection with other people. If you don't learn to trust, others can't trust you and bless you with bigger and better opportunities. Remember, life is all about connections called relationships. Care. Care for each other more than you focus on self. As long as you are not the center of your own world, you can see the whole universe. You have to step out of your own picture to see the full picture in its entirety and make better judgments. Share. Share values and common goals. Share a last name. Share commitment. That was the end of Chapter 2, Kindergarten. Join me next time for Chapter 3, First Grade. Remember, the mature marriage was once the immature, sloppy, hot mess. We all have to start somewhere. Love yourself so that you can love each other. I love you, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.